first story is titled, Am I the a-hole for making my father-in-law homeless because he doesn't respect my job? Because of the divorce of his second wife and the pandemic, my father-in-law had difficulties to find a new home, and we offered to take him in. I studied to become a teacher and started very fresh with this job. It's complicated because I have to do everything online, but I love it. I work from home. We have a guest room, but before father-in-law moved in, I said to him that I have to work from this room. My desk, books, and everything is there, and if that would be a problem, he can stay in the living room. He said it's not a problem. Since the day he moved in, the drama begun. He makes comments about how useless my subjects are: history, politics, and philosophy. He was a policeman, but he got a health issue, so he doesn't work anymore. He said the children should learn things that help society and not become dumb philosophers. I tried to explain him what we talk and discuss in these lessons, but he didn't listen. Then he started ranting to my partner, when he is home, how teachers are overpaid because they only have to babysit children, and everybody can do that. He, as a father, saw himself as a teacher too, for his sons, and he didn't need a degree or that much money. I'm from Europe, Germany, and yes, I'm happy with the pay, but it's not like it makes me rich. My partner said to him that is not true and ended the discussion. Then he came in the guest room while I had a Zoom meeting in the morning with a beer in his hand and only a shirt and boxer shorts. I was super angry and disappointed. I talked to him later about this and said that it makes a false impression for my students. He disagreed and said it's his room. We discussed it for hours, but it was a wasted time. I often drive to my students to bring them a copy from the stuff we do if they don't have access to the internet or no way to print it. My father-in-law said that I'm overdoing it because he's here, and that teachers are lazy and have too much free time. I tried to tell him politely how much work teachers who love their job have, but he didn't listen. Next day, when I left the room for 2 minutes to get something for the Zoom meeting, he went in the guest room and chatted with my students. They were all really uncomfortable about my subjects and how useless they are. I had enough. I said to him that I get he's on a low point in his life, but this was one step too far. He said, if you can't master your own father-in-law, how will you master 25 kids? And I said to him that I don't need to master adults. I told him to leave, and when my partner came back, he stood by my decision. When my father-in-law was away, he told me he found me too harsh and that it's kind of an a-hole move to kick him out because he makes bad jokes about my job. His younger brothers called us later, hearing the story from their dad, and told us we will never be invited again in their households after we prove that family isn't important to us. Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. Him doing that on Zoom could lead to consequences for you at your job. Also, ironic that he thinks philosophy makes you dumb. As a fellow teacher, 100% this. You can be sacked for this. The parents would cause a scene about this, and the teacher involved would be sacked for this. You need to lock the door when you're on Zoom teaching. This is unacceptable behavior, and people like that don't understand just how hard us teachers work. They think it's babysitting and chill, but they don't see us sitting there right up until the 6 p.m. deadline, entering the date at 5:59 p.m., trying to get it done or it's your head on the blocks. Or staying up until midnight to finish planning, and then getting up at 5:30 a.m. to get into school early to set up, etc. It's hard work. Not a a-hole. Please send the rest of the family an update as to how your father-in-law behaved, and why you had to kick him out. He will burn you for kicking him out. You have every right to share the exact reasons with family and friends. Don't be a scapegoat. You protected yourself, your work, your students, and your home by kicking him out. You did a decent thing. No kidding. If he wants to play the family card, they have every right to tell the truth to the family members. How the father-in-law treats family by blatantly disrespecting someone who took them in and gave them shelter, and who deliberately jeopardized their job by sabotaging his teaching. He doesn't have to genuflect to OP every day, but it's not asking a lot to not openly ridicule someone for their interests and not interfere with one's legitimate job. Yeah. Who needs history and politics lesson to help today's society? And what's to learn from German history anyway? Oh wait. Not a a-hole. Cheers from Berlin and thank you for your service. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my dad he chose his wife but I didn't? So, my dad has been married to his wife, Regina, fake name, since I was 10. I have issues with her that just get ignored, so I do my best to keep to myself and not start fights or be rude. Basically, I am civil but try to avoid her the best way I can. She and my dad don't like that, and she has tried to bond with me a lot in the last 6 years. I'm 16 female, by the way. My dad decided we all needed to go to therapy because it wouldn't be good for my half-brother to grow up in a family where we're not close. We started therapy in October, and we have seen, I think, 3 different therapists since then. This current one he likes, so we're staying put. But sessions are basically him just saying what the issues are, what fix he wants, and telling me I need to put more effort into this family. Then 2 sessions ago, he said that we chose to make Regina part of this family, so we need to do what we can to make this work for everyone. I told him that he chose Regina, but I didn't, and that I get it. As the kid, I don't get that power, but I told him I could not say I chose her. He told me I did. I pointed out that I actually told him I didn't like her before they got married and I didn't want him to marry her. He did it anyway. I'm not bitter about it. By now I get that it was his choice, but it annoyed the crap out of me when he made it sound like I actively wanted her. The therapist doesn't really say or do anything, except ask me why I feel that way and why not give her a chance, so there's not much point there. My dad told me it was rude and mean-spirited to say I didn't choose her in front of Regina and in front of the therapist. He told me that the wedding was us choosing her. I told him if that's what he believed, then go right ahead, but I never did choose Regina. Regina also couldn't believe I didn't choose her and has been upset and crying for the last 2 weeks. She said she didn't understand what she did. Except I did tell her and my dad before, and it was ignored. It was also ignored in one session with a different therapist, and even though that therapist did try to explore it, we never saw him again after that session. Am I the a-hole? And because people will ask, my issues with her started when she moved in first. She made comments about my mom leaving me, but she didn't. She's just unable to take care of me after an accident left her disabled, and she's in a nursing to get around-the-clock care. Then, she talked about adopting me due to abandonment before they were married. She told me she would like it if I called her mom, so we could feel more like a real family. There was a 2-year period of that. Then she got pissed at my grandparents for taking me to see my mom during my visitation with them, and made a huge stink out of it. And then she was pissed when they gave me my mom's locket that she had wanted me to have eventually, though I'm guessing not under the circumstances, because she wanted to give me one with a photo of her and my dad. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. You can't be forced to like her, and it sounds like your dad is deliberately choosing therapists that don't listen to you. That's likely to be counterproductive. It took 3 therapists to find the one that agrees with him, and yet he still thinks it's his daughter with a problem. Lol. Not the a-hole. You should not be going to a therapist and lying. How good a therapist is this if the best she can say is to give this lady a chance and not stop your dad from telling you what you chose? Yeah, not the best one. We had a good one, and we left after things started being revealed. I see. This situation is very toxic. You don't take someone to therapy to make them do what you want. You take them to therapy to understand them better. I'm sorry you're in this situation. Not the a-hole. This is therapy. If there's anywhere you should be able to express your feelings, it's there. Your father doesn't want to work out the issues. He thinks you're the problem. You're broken and need to be fixed. He wants you to comply. He wants to make Regina happy whether you like it or not. He is putting her over you, and you will go through therapists until he finds one that agrees with him. Regina sounds all kinds of messed up, like she tried to erase your mother's existence. As soon as you can, move out. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my ex move into my flat? I, 32 female, recently inherited a house from my grandparents. I moved in along with my 2-year-old daughter about a month ago, and have been looking for a boarder for the downstairs apartment. It is fully self-contained, but I want to be picky about the tenant as we are close to a university, and I don't want any loud parties or music late at night, so I'm offering it for very cheap. $150 a week. Market for similar in this area is $250 to $350, with some conditions like no loud music after 8 p.m., no gatherings of more than 7 people, etc., etc. Nothing that I think is particularly unreasonable. My ex, who I dated when I was 22 to 26, was one of the first applicants and came to the first viewing that I conducted. I told him before the viewing that I thought he would be wasting his time to come as I didn't think he would be a good fit. He throws regular large parties, plays loud music, etc. In the 4 years I knew him, he was kicked out of multiple flats for not being considerate of others. He is also extremely controlling. During the flat viewing, he tried to tell other people that he was definitely taking the place, and was constantly telling me where he wanted furniture moved to, and which pieces I'd have to put in storage so he can move his stuff in. After the second viewing, where he showed up unannounced, I told him that I had someone very interested and he couldn't move in. This was a white lie, as I had a few interested but no one committed yet. 2 weeks later, I re-advertised and he immediately started hassling me again. And I told him that I would absolutely never rent to him, so to leave me alone. He flipped his crap, hassling me about my daughter needing a father, that I was biased against him, etc. I ended up blocking him because he was calling all hours of the night to hassle me. Now, friends of both of us are at me to give him a second chance, and I'm starting to feel guilty. It's been 6 years since we split. Maybe he's changed and I dismissed him without consideration. Am I the a-hole here? He is not the father of my daughter. She was conceived using a sperm donor and a surrogate. I have a family history of cervical cancer, and when I was 25 or 26, I had a couple of smears that showed abnormal precancerous cells. Ex didn't want kids ever, and didn't want to go through cancer treatments, so we split up. I spent a couple years dating, but was diagnosed with cervical cancer when I was 27. I had eggs collected, and then had a full hysterectomy. After I was through with treatment and in the all clear, I arranged a surrogate and my daughter was born. Now for the top comments. Why would you give a chance to this guy? He's clearly still a massive jerk, harassing you over this. He obviously hasn't changed. Not the a-hole. What Opie needs to give him is a restraining order. Not the a-hole. I mean, his current behavior alone shows exactly why he should never, ever be your tenant. Ever. And his previous behavior's even worse. Who wants loads of parties held in their home when there's a small child around? Yeah, he's trying to be controlling now, and he doesn't even live there. Not the a-hole. And remember, no is a complete sentence. Don't even give an excuse or reason. You owe him nothing. Every response from now on needs to be a simple no, not one word more. Not the a-hole. Never rent to this guy. Tell your friends to stuff it. Terrible red flags all over the place. If you rent to him, you'll never get him out of your business. He clearly feels entitled to you and your environment. He is behaving like a stalker. The last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not changing my rules and terminating care? I have a home daycare. I like to think I'm pretty lenient, but I do have one big rule. Don't make me the bad guy. I understand we might have different rules, but don't make your child resent me by not backing me up. Anyway, another rule is I don't allow outside toys or electronics. Kids can bring a stuffed animal for a nap if they're sleeping in rest mats, but I don't want to be responsible if something gets broken. Years ago, I used to let kids bring whatever. Then a cheap McDonald's toy broke by accident. Kid was upset and mom got mad at me. So now, it's a hard rule. Most are okay with it, but I have a new kid, 3, whose mom wanted him to bring his tablet because he needs it. I said sorry, but no. I'm not going to be responsible for it. We went back and forth, but finally she just says fine. But every morning, he's crying because she took his tablet from him in the car. She always gives me this look and says, Miss Lucy says no tablet. I always try to say we have plenty of toys, but the kid spends the whole morning sulking. I've talked to mom, asked her to leave it at home and not even put it in the car, but she says he needs it. It's been a month, and yesterday was the last straw that broke the camel's back. Kid came in crying, as usual. I tried my usual redirection, which didn't work. Mom was giving me a look of, see what you did? Then she had the nerve to say to him, I know you need your tablet. We've talked about this before. Miss Lucy is strict. That pissed me off. I ended up telling her to take him home right then and there. She was shocked and tried to stammer. He was my first kid of the day, so there was no scene. I just handed back his backpack, said he was no longer a student of mine, and began to pack his extra clothes and a sippy cup he kept. Mom was in tears as she left. My husband thinks she was right. I'm too strict and should have broken policy instead of causing drama. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Tell your husband to watch the kid. That kid has problems if he's already addicted to that tablet. $10 says he needs it. Means I don't want to have to engage him, so I shut him up with electronics. Or tell your husband you are paying for another tablet that got ruined at your house. I have never heard of a daycare or preschool that allows expensive personal electronics, unless a child is disabled. Not the a-hole. If her only explanation was that he needs it without any context or information, then she knew your rules before enrolling her kid. She can't expect people to bend to her every whim. I agree. If she indicated it was used as a communication tool for a child with language delays / inability to communicate otherwise, that would be a totally different story. Not a a-hole. She had an entire month to explain to this kid that there can be no electronics at daycare. She chose to act like it was a big deal every single morning, so of course kid is going to act that way. Obviously, she wasn't even trying to follow the rules. You did right. In situations like this, you give an inch and they will take a mile. Or someone else will demand an exception. It becomes too hard to keep up with it all. Anyone with a sob story will get you to waver. You are doing the right thing to just stop it now. Your husband is kind of being a jerk about it. Why should you bend the rules for this one kid? What does he care? I'm sure you can find someone to take his place. What kind of example does it set for all of the other kids? Also, a 3-year-old should not need any electronic whatsoever. Kid is a toddler. Should not be that attached to a screen. She probably never actually parents that kid. I'm sure the tablet does all the work for her. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.